This is a video from Riker here about tempering, and the community is very split on tempering. So are you supposed to brick, or do you think it's good for the game if we can brick our items or not? Brick, yay or nay? At least, I'm like kind of split, man. I think it adds to the loot hunt if, you know, the items have like some more value, because you need to get multiple of them, right? Like not just one item and you're done. But I think if you have multiple greater affixes, maybe you should have more, you know, chances to reset your temper, or you should have some way of resetting your temper. Whether you reset it, like you just like with the masterworking, right? You go to your blacksmith and you click on tempering, and now you have these odds, but like there would be some button here, just like with masterworking, where you could reset them. I think that would be a pretty cool thing. I don't know what the cost should be. You can let me know here in the chat or in the comments, but I was thinking, and I know this is an unpopular opinion because this is scarce, you could pay a Resplendent Spark for it. I know this is a very high cost, but this is only like the ultima, you know, solution if you already bricked your item to reset it and to unbrick it. It needs to be expensive. I know you don't like it, but I think this would be a good solution. But maybe, I don't know, you pay some gold or something, but it needs to be something significant, man. Like, what is 100 million gold at this point, you know? Like, I think a Resplendent Spark, man, everybody has a chance of getting this from Duriel. Like, they have significantly, you know, updated the drop table. It's like 10% chance per Uber Duriel to get it. And you can also get a guaranteed spark if you just level a new character. And if you have a GG item, like the one I have here, I think there could be an argument made, you know, if I would have bricked it. Obviously, we use the pity mechanic, so we can't brick or have a very low chance of bricking our items. But yeah, casuals barely get sparks. I know, but like casuals should probably not pay that much to reset a weapon anyways, right? I'm not sure. I know this is an unpopular opinion. It's just my opinion, guys. Because if they just make it cost some gold, it's meaningless. But yeah, if you have, this is another good solution that I've talked about, like briefly. If you have a lot of greater affixes, or maybe another solution could be, per greater affix, you get extra rerolls, right? So if an item has one greater affix, maybe instead of 5 tempering chances, you know, you actually get more than 5. You get like an extra 2 or an extra 5 per greater affix, right? So if you would have, let's say, an extra 2, so if you have a triple greater affix item, you would have, instead of 5, you would have 11 temper rolls, right? Something like this, maybe 2 per GA. Yeah, 5 it would be too much, I agree. So if you have a 1 GA item, you would have 7 plus the base 2, so you would have 9 rolls and stuff like that. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, and let's see what Riker here has to say about this. So folks, listen in.
Hey folks, this is Riker, and we need to figure out whether we're happy with tempering in Diablo 4
Are we happy?
Or not. Because as it stands, the community seems split. Meanwhile, this week we also got news of an upcoming Diablo 4 anniversary event, new Path of Exile 2 details, a new Helldivers 2 major order that made me say, what? And we'll cover some other gaming news highlights of the week. But starting with Diablo 4,
okay.
Blizzard announced an anniversary event coming up for D4.
The goblins,
we'll
boys.
Have some free cosmetics, extra goblins, and an XP boost. Specifically from June 6th to 13th.
Okay, this event's a big W. We'll see what it's going to go. But let's get into the tempering yay or nay discussion here and see what Riker thinks and what his community has to say about this.
4 has continued to go on, and the sentiment towards it has continued to be overall very positive.
D4.
So without any critique, of
Log
course,
in.
Certainly nothing enough for the
season
tide
is
to
lit.
once again turn to D4 bad. Now,
No,
Nightmare Dungeons, that's an aspect of the game that can still be improved somehow. People still don't love having to grind out their glyphs in Nightmare Dungeons, but Nightmare Dungeons are definitely in a much better state than they have ever been, partially because it's faster than ever to level up your glyphs, and once they're maxed, you basically don't have to run Nightmare Dungeons anymore.
Yeah.
Also partially because the events inside...
How do you feel about that, guys? Nightmare Dungeons. I mean, I've probably done like 2 or 3 Nightmare Dungeons hours on my character, and I basically had all my glyphs to 15. And then, yeah, you can level them to 21, but it's mostly optional. It's only giving you like a little bit of additive. I think Nightmare Dungeon is in a decent spot. Like, I think the glyph XP is fast enough. It doesn't really take too long. You just don't like the grind still. Yeah, I don't know about this. But it goes very fast. I think you need to do like 6 runs or something on 100, and they are done. You're like 1 glyph. I think it's fine. In my opinion, Nightmare Dungeon is fine. I think the grind is acceptable, man. It's not taking as long as you guys are making it sound. It's fine, in my opinion. But let me know.
Side of the Nightmare Dungeons are immensely rewarding now for XP. And partially
I think they boosted it by 25%, guys.
As they've gotten rid of some of the worst Nightmare Dungeon affixes that slow down gameplay, like the red light, green light, lightning dome minigame.
Yeah, that one is completely gone, man. That's the one that killed Quinn in hardcore in town, man.
Oh, and speaking of leveling glyphs, PSA, when you're done a Nightmare Dungeon and need to level your glyphs, you can just right-click on the glyph to apply the XP automatically. You
Instantly.
don't have to go select the glyph and then click upgrade or whatever. Just spam right-click on the glyph.
And another thing, guys, you get a 25 boost, and I don't know if I have one right now, but there are also, here, there are also keys that give you even more glyph XP. So you like multiply your glyph XP, right? Like it's 25% base boost, and then if you're doing 100, you get another 1.2 if you're running these kind of glyphs with more glyph XP. So I think it's like just 5 runs or something. So extra glyph experience at the end of the dungeon, man. Goes insane. No problemo.
Spend all the XP really fast, saves you a bit of time. Something else that's in a better state than it's ever been, Obol gambling. Now that you can always get 925 gear once you're level 100, Obol's went from something that was basically useless at endgame to actually super useful. Helltide Whispers are
So how do you feel about the Obols? Like this thing, like you can just go to the guy here and you can just buy anything you want. And it has potential to be best in slot, right? So I usually gamble rings at the moment. So I'm looking for FX, greater FX, attack speed, and crit chance. And you can just gamble rings. And all the rings here that you get have the potential to be best in slot. So I really like the new Obol system. I think it's been a huge W for the game. I still am not a fan of the cap. Like, why is it capped at 2.5? You know, I've been complaining about this before, and they actually listened to a lot of feedback, and they increased this from 1,000 to 2,500. But it's still too low, in my opinion. I mean, it should be at least 10,000. I don't understand why there has to be a cap at all. It's not like we have a realistically reachable gold cap now. This also been part of the feedback. And they actually improved it to 99 billion. And also the same for the red dust. Like, this should just be a cap that is like fairly unreachable for the average player. But even if you're the average player, like getting 2.5k Obolos, like you just do like 1 or 2 Helltides, or you do like 10 pits and you're there. So I think this should be still increased. Like 2.5, man, still way too low. But yeah, I like the Gamba with Obols. That's pretty cool. Because you can like target farm aspects and you can target farm specific items.
Generally rewarding to do, and they combine 2 activities, so that always feels good. Though I do wish that once our whispers were full and we were ready to turn in, we can just click one button to just port straight to the tree. Maybe like have the town portal automatically default to the Tree of Whispers once you're full.
That'd
just a small quality of life thing there. People do continue to complain about the one-shots in the pit.
What I also don't like, if you go into the Tree of Whispers, at least if you are playing in a group, right, you're doing world bosses together or something, you teleport to this waypoint, you turn in the bounty, but then in order to teleport on your friend again, that is doing the Helltide or something, you have to go through an additional loading screen, because this is not a proper town, and you have to port, I don't know, to Kyovashot, and then port on your friend. And that is just an extra loading screen step that feels like a big L. So you could make this like a lot more comfortable. Or maybe give us an option to have the waypoint of the Tree of Whispers set as default or something, right? There's many options they could do it, like definitely some quality of life improvements. Or, similar to the Obols, allow us to stack more Grim Favors, right? Right now you can only have a maximum, you see I have 9 out of 10. You can only have a maximum of 10. But what they could do instead is just allow you to stack, I don't know, 50 Grim Favors and then turn in 5 caches at the same time or something. Or maybe even 100 Grim Favors. And let me know in the comments what you think about that. But I think that could be pretty cool. Like just stack in, 100 Grim Favors and then turn in 10 caches, dude. That would be pretty cool, I think. Like, just stack it up, because it's very annoying after every world boss, or after, like, you know, playing the Helltide for 10 minutes. My whispers are full. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm happy for a second, but then I just remember, now I need to stop what I'm doing. I'm like having fun in the Helltide. I need to stop what I'm doing for like a couple minutes, go to one loading screen, teleport here, turn in the whisper, go back to the waypoint, go back to Kyovashad, another loading screen, and then teleport back to my friends in the Helltide. 3 freaking loading screens, man. They could be like way simplified, in my opinion.
In particular from the Shades of Lilith. The issue is, though, with how scaling works in the pit, you will always eventually reach a point where getting hit by something will kill you in one shot. And it's not about...
That is not true in the high end, at least. I get that it's true from like a more casual perspective. Like if you are playing in tier 63 and you keep going up, you will get one shot if you don't build your character correctly. But if you have all res cap, if you have armor cap, if you're playing a Barbarian, and if you have like, I don't know, 100k life or something, then it should be okay. And the scaling, guys, it stops at 100. So right now, players are pushing in the 100 of 40s, and this is basically where the scaling completely stops. At 100, the damage does not scale up, only the health. So if you can tank 100, you can tank 150. And people are now pushing into the 140s. I myself am at 138 right now. There's a Sorg at 140 and there's a Necro at 143 now. But the scaling stops working there. You don't need more toughness. When you can tank 100, you can tank 150 and onwards. You just need to build your character right, and you will not get one shot.
Not something literally killing you in one shot no matter what. It's just that eventually the amount of damage something deals will
I think the problem is he's playing a Sorg. No, I mean, Sorg has Flame Shield, and you can also build your Sorg tanky, but it's definitely way harder to scale this amount of life on your Sorg than on my Barb. But literally, guys, on a Barb, and I have a video that I'm going to link in the description here, you can get... Hey everybody, it's Rob here. I'm getting insane amount of life. You see, this one we have 500,000 life, and this is just the start. Like, you can probably get up to 1 million life. This is on a bar, but you can probably get up to hundreds of thousands of life on every class if you choose to. So the one shot, if you build your character correctly, is not really an issue, at least on the high end. On the casual level, yes it is, but then you should probably not play the pit in this high levels, because your character is clearly not ready for it.
Greater than the amount of...
You have 900,000 life on your Barb. You see, like if you stack everything in life, it goes crazy.
Health you have. It won't be a deliberate one-shot mechanic, it's just going to work out that way. And unless the devs implement some kind of mechanic in which damage that you take over your max life is somehow reduced or turned into, you know, damage over time or something, one-shots will...
Do you think they should do this? Like, make like a system where you can only, like, no matter what, no matter how much toughness you have, like, you can only lose, like, let's say 80% of your HP in one hit. I think there should be one-shot mechanics, or even, like, hard mechanics. This is like what it means to have a hard endgame. Because, well, if you don't like the one-shot mechanics, or you either need to build your character right, or you should not play pits, you know, that are like above level 60 or 70 or wherever you are, right? Because, yeah, like the harder, like that's supposed to be how it works, right? It scales hard. So at some point you will die if you don't build your character right. I don't think they should fix this, in my opinion. But we'll see. Because, you know, like as a casual player, you're probably not supposed to clear pit 150. Like, you're just not. Just like you're not supposed to clear AOZ 25. But it literally doesn't matter, guys, because there's no crazy reward attached to these high pit tiers or anything. It's just for the challenge. So let the people that want the challenge have the challenge. And everybody who doesn't like the challenge, like, you don't have to play this high. It's literally the same game. It's just a different number on your screen.
The amount of damage something deals will be greater than the amount of health you have. It won't be a deliberate one-shot mechanic, it's just going to work out that way. And unless the devs implement some kind of mechanic in which damage that you take over your max life is somehow reduced or turned into, you know, damage over time or something, one-shots will always become a problem in content like the pit.
A lot of people don't care about the high pits. And that's fine, like, right? Like, as a casual, like, you don't have to care about the high pits. Like, there's literally no reward. It's only the prestige of doing it. But there's a lot of people that like to spend a lot of time in the game and try to push it to the limits, and for them it should be tough.
Impossibly difficult to continue.
But yeah, nowadays, guys, making video games hard is a very unpopular thing to do, because everybody just likes to, have a participation trophy. Everybody just likes to, have everything handled for them for free. Man, most video games, they just give you a reward. Dude, you've logged into the game. Congratulations. Here's your reward. Like this kind of mentality. Back in the days, guys, when I was very, very young, they made freaking hard video games. And I'm kind of missing this at least a little bit. And it's good that Diablo 4 has this like low level of entry, right? But like the low level of entry is one thing, but it should also have a high ceiling. And we have been missing this for a long, long time, where Diablo 4 had no challenge in the end game. So I think it's good, and I don't understand why people are already calling for nerfs just because the game, at a certain point, that it's totally optional, that there are no special rewards attached to it. You choose to do this hard game, or this hard content, and then the content should be hard. It should not be nerfed. That is at least my opinion, guys. I know that people are very, split on this, because a lot of people just want an easy game, like one-shot everything, barbarian damage, kill everything in one hit, and you are just an immortal tank. You can do this, but then just play in the open world, and don't play in Pit 150. That's not for you.
Continue. So the complaint here isn't really about how much damage the one-shots do. It's more about the feeling like you have no counterplay. I think that's the problem people really have.
I think you do if you build your character right.
The one-shots is that they
like counterplay plus frame shield.
They have no agency, or not enough agency, to stop themselves from being one-shot. And part of this is because some of the ground effects can be hard to read amidst the chaos. Maybe there can also be...
I mean, this I definitely agree with. Is there's too much on the screen and you literally can't see the boss casting an attack. Like on Sork here, you see all this like, farts and explosions of cold and like there's all this element stuff. That is a problem. Like, but this is like not about damage that the monsters deal, but it's about visual clarity. And I 100% agree with this. The visual clarity, especially on Sork with some builds, is not that great.
Rob, I agree with you. Let the difficulty exist. Games need hard content and challenges.
Yes, man.
Old school games for the win. Boom. Shako Lako.
I mean, I understand both worlds. There should be an easy point of entry. And Diablo 4 definitely has this easy point of entry. But there should also be a high level ceiling at some point. And this is also what we finally have, guys. And I really don't see why people complain about this now. Because people have been complaining that the game is too easy. Now they make the game harder. At the very high end, it's completely optional. There's no reward to it. And people complain still. You can't win. Like, you literally can't win.
A bit more time between the telegraph.
It's too easy, they complain. It's too hard, they complain.
Man. To give a bit more player time for reaction. I think what should not happen is a nerf to enemy damage to the point that players can just tank through everything while ignoring the mechanics.
Again, we already have this on the high end. Barbarian and Sorks and other classes, they can tank everything and ignore all the mechanics. Literally, that's what's already happening, so don't nerf it.
Is meant to be the most difficult content in the game, and that means more than just gearing.
W Riker.
You can't just gear your way through and ignore mechanics. Player skill needs...
Yeah, that works to a certain degree right now on the very high end. So if they would ever nerf damage, like, your toughness would literally not matter at all.
To come into effect, you gotta dodge things. Otherwise, where's the difficulty?
Yes.
Now, maybe these effects that are currently resulting in the one-shot deaths should
agree.
Instead apply a debuff, like the tormented bosses have, making you take more damage from all sources, so every time you fail to evade, you're punished by making the rest of the fight harder, until it becomes too difficult to survive.
Lilith is coming. I call thee home. The bell of hell.
Rather than just, the first time you fail to evade, instant failure. I think this would also help bridge the gap that players are feeling in the difficulty between the pre-boss encounters and the boss encounters. Especially at higher pit levels, the experience largely feels like easy, summon boss portal, one-shot dead. I mean...
And this I agree with, but it's not about the one-shot that the boss is doing, it's about the life. The absolute ridiculous amount of life that the boss has. Like, if you compare the boss in a pit to a normal elite, the boss has like 100x or something. And I think they should take some of that boss HP and put it into, or some of that difficulty that is on the boss. Not damage-wise, but like life that the boss has. Because the boss feels like an immortal tank for many, many builds that are struggling with single target. And it comes to the point where people just fish for the highest of clears on their, like for like an AoE ad boss. And I think they should take some of the life that the boss has and increase the life of the elites or the life of the monsters in the rift or in the pit on average, and like don't make the boss quite as tanky. I would even say, you know, reduce the boss HP by 100%, like, you know, like half, cut his HP in half, and get this hit points to the elites and to the trash monsters in the pit. Like make the, because right now on the high tier, guys, it's 5 minutes for the pit run and then 10 minutes to kill the boss, because we don't have a Bane of the Stricken. And this was exactly the problem that we had in Diablo 3 back in the days as well. At some point they introduced a gem that basically makes you deal more damage the longer you fight a single target. But we don't have this in D4. And I think the boss HP is just way too high in comparison to what the elites have. So I think shift some of that, like leave the pit difficult, but shift some of that power from the boss into the run, into the pit rift itself. That would be, I think, a big win. So you maybe have at least a 50-50 ratio, like, you know, 7-8 minutes for the pit, and then 7-8 minutes for the boss. Or even better, 10 minutes for the pit, 5 minutes for the boss fight. Because fighting a single target boss for 10 minutes, even on the high end, it gets kind of boring. Because the boss doesn't really do much. You know, it just does the same mechanics like over and over and over again. It's a 10-minute fight on the high end. Like I did my 138, and let me double check. And this was with an ad boss. But the boss still takes insanely long. So we did like 138 solo here. And I think the run was cleared in just a few minutes. I see, okay, it's actually not too crazy. So we have 8 minutes for the boss here. And we are fighting this boss here for 8 freaking minutes. So there is definitely some improvements need to be done. And this is not one of the worst builds. Like on the sorcerer side of things, it gets even worse. Like you're just fighting these bosses, and you guys can see here, we are doing like 5 billion damage every 30 frames. So that's like tens of billions of damage every second here in the 138. And this boss is not dying. Here, 5 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion. And this guy doesn't even lose any health, you know? Like this guy has trillions and trillions of life. And it takes very, very long to kill it. And this is like a full like 8-minute fight, right? And this guy just refuses to die, even though, you know, we're doing like here 5, 6, 7 billion dot damage here. Like every twice a second. Like this is, you know, 15 billion damage. And like this boss just doesn't flinch, you know, like it still takes like very, very long to kill it. But yeah, we did manage to kill it, but this is still like a huge problem, the boss fight. And this is not only for Barb, this is like throughout the board for every class. So I think shift some power from the boss. And this is health into the run, into the rift.
At this point, you might as well just start the pit run at the boss altogether. I don't really see people, you know, failing before the boss. I've also seen some complaints that the Stygian stones are too rare.
Yeah, about until Diablo 5 comes out, you're fighting a single target boss that has trillions of health. You go in on your pulverizing druid, you do 17 damage, and it takes until Diablo 5 comes out to kill that boss.
Before the boss. I've also seen some complaints that the Stygian stones are too rare, and that higher pit levels aren't rewarding enough in general.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I agree that higher pit levels should reward more item drops. They already give more masterworking materials, but maybe they should have a higher chance to drop Stygian stones, or if they already do that, maybe even more.
I think that would be cool, but it's very hard, again, like to assign rewards to this hard content, because as we discussed earlier, the casual players, they can't really do this kind of content, and they're not supposed to do it. But right now, I think it's fine because there's no crazy rewards. Of course, I would like to have the best rewards for the hardest content, right? Like, I mean, you should get the best items in the game from the hardest content of the game. But if you do this, then, you know, the casual player base will definitely not be happy, and they will always end up nerfing that. So I think it's okay. Just make a leaderboard for the pit. Don't make it crazy rewarding to do the high stuff, because again, as a casual player, you're not supposed to do this high stuff. But you would be feeling like you're missing out if the pit is crazy rewarding on the high levels only. So I think you have to like bite into the bitter apple here and just don't make it crazy rewarding to do high pits. Just make it a prestige, I don't know, a leaderboard thing, like a challenge kind of thing to do this high pit levels. And like leave the rewards like average even for the low tiers. Because, I mean, as much as I would like it, I think it would be bad for the game to make, you know, like, I don't know, let's say 150 or 140 pits gives you the craziest rewards. I think that would get, you know, the more casual audience, like, not engaged with that content at all, and they would feel like the FOMO, they are missing out on all their rewards. So I'm okay with not having it crazy rewarding, but just make a leaderboard for it or something, right? And maybe make it like slightly higher chance for Stygian stones or something, but not too much for the point as you are, you know, that you feel like you are forced to do these high levels. Because again, 99% of players will not do this high levels.
One way to make them more rewarding without invalidating Helltide as the place to go for loot drops, because if farming high pit levels is now rewarding as well for loot drops, well, then you have no more reason to do Helltide. One quality of life thing that needs to come to the pit, it should remember what your last pit level one was. Having to scroll back through the numbers every time.
We had this technology in Diablo 3 already, man, with Greater Rifts. I don't know why this just keeps happening, where something like an armory system or like, you know, like the conduit pylons or something like is happening in Diablo 4 when they already have the team, the Diablo 3 team working right there at Blizzard. Why don't they just ask them? You know, like this is like easy. Like the last tier that you did should just be the default tier, right? If you're speed farming hundreds or 105s like I do, like just remember this. And every time you click the obelisk, it should be at 105. And then you like, scrolling here every time, man. It's just so stupid, so unnecessary, man. Like, did they not learn this from Diablo 3, man? It's just like mind-boggling to me.
Is just tiring.
Yes.
Again, there's a number of like simple quality of life things from D3 that haven't made their way to D4 yet. In D3, it would remember what your last Greater Rift level was. Then the biggest
I did not pre-watch this video, man, but like, I 100,000% agree, man. Why? You know, dude, why not learn from the past? Like, what the fuck, man?
Like, the community continues to seem split on tempering. Some hate bricking.
Okay, bricking,
others
guys.
want
Here it
it
is.
to remain. And when we say bricking, we mean that you run out of tempering attempts without getting what you want.
If you use the pity mechanics, guys, link in the description, your items have about an 80 to 90% chance to not brick.
No, your item isn't tech.
I did it with many items. I have not bricked a single piece since I've been using this method. Believe in magic, my friends. Believe. No brick. This is the wrong thing.
Technically a brick, it's still usable, but it's no longer worth investing into, and you will want to replace it as soon as possible, because tempering affixes can be really powerful and even necessary for your build. Bricking isn't a major thing for the categories that produce a useful result no matter what. Like, if you get armor, life, or dodge, hey, you know, maybe it's not ideal that you got dodge, but it's still useful for you.
Dude, what if I get marksman damage on my barbarian? How? This is also something that they have to fix, man. Please make it possible for every class to temper crit damage and vulnerable damage, man. You have like so many damage mechanics, so many passives, such as gushing wounds, such as hemorrhage, that just freaking scale with your crit chance and your crit damage and with your vulnerable damage. So please, man, make these recipes available. I don't want no marksman damage on my barb. And I don't want to do no rogue to temper the weapons, man. I'm like the master of weapons. Like, I'm the barb. We have 4 weapons, dude. But we are too stupid, not enough intelligence or dexterity to temper crit damage on our weapons. Like, what is this?
But let's say you want vulnerable damage for your ranged rogue, and the 4 other options, or the 3 other options, are for melee skills, then yes, anything other than vulnerable results in a brick.
Yeah, what
and
the
I'd
hell,
say
man? Marksman damage on my mace.
Oh, so
I'm a barb. What do I want marksman damage?
At least a big chunk of the temper recipes do feel this way, where you either get...
Well, I think Rain of Arrow, man. Like, I had somebody link me like a GG mace here like this, bashed, cleaved, triple GA, and then it had Rain of Arrows, man. Freaking bricked, man. Rain of Arrows on my barb.
The result that is good for your build or something useless for your build. This is exacerbated by the fact that you can roll the same affix multiple times in a row. If there was some system that prevented you from getting the same affix twice in a row, people might feel better about it. People would feel even...
What if I tell you that there is the pity mechanic?
Better if, like with enchanting, you had the option to keep the affix you currently have. Because right now, only psychopaths will risk re-rolling just to get a higher roll of their current affix. Because the alternative is, again, turning a good item into a brick. And the player base is split on wanting the ability to unbrick an item. That's the big contention point.
What should it cost?
We're talking about, you know, something like a really rare resource, maybe a Resplendent Spark, right? It's already in the game.
I swear I did not pre-watch this video. He also thinks Resplendent Spark, maybe. Like, this just came out 2 hours ago. I've been streaming all the time. Like, I did not watch this video, guys.
Maybe that could be used to reset your temper attempts.
This is my
The idea
opinion.
is for it to be a cost high enough that you're only going to unbrick your best items.
It needs to be something that is meaningful, man. Now, Stygian stones, I don't know. I think gold is just not going to cut it.
It would also mean that you have reason to hold on to a bricked item until such time as you farm up the required resource to unbrick.
I definitely like the idea of having some way to reset temper. But this way, I mean, it doesn't have to be a Resplendent Spark. But it needs to be something meaningful.
But other people are saying that bricking makes the high of getting that perfectly tempered item all that much sweeter. That there's basically no highs without lows. But here's the thing.
We gamba big time.
It would still suck to brick an item. It's still a low, even if it costs a Resplendent Spark to unbrick it. And a lot more people would be willing to risk re-rolling for a higher roll of the same temper affix if they knew that they could save the item with enough time and dedication. But bricking also seems to be keeping people hooked. In games that are basically sophisticated slot machines, players rarely know best what will keep them playing.
Wait, he literally said this? Listen.
Dedication. But bricking also seems to be keeping people hooked. In games that are basically sophisticated slot machines, players rarely know best
sophisticated slot machines.
What will keep them playing the game in the long run. If we get everything we want on day one, then there's nothing left to do. No hill left to climb, and we move on.
There should be long-term progression,
I don't
especially
know.
for items.
What do you folks think? I feel like I'm leaning towards something very rare to let us unbrick an item, or otherwise something done with tempering to make it a little bit less punitive. But I don't know. Maybe that's going to make the game less fun in the long run. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What do you folks think? Should bricking remain as it is, or should there be some changes? And if so, what kind of changes would you like to see? Sound off in the comments. And speaking of keeping people hooked,
let me know, guys. This is like, again, I think one Resplendent Spark to reset your tempers, but also at the same time, when an item has a greater affix or 3 greater affix, give it 2 extra temper rolls per greater affix that it has. I think that would be, so a 3 GA greater affix item would have 11 chances to reset your temper plus the 2 base, so 13 chances in total. I think that is a very low chance of breaking it. And then even if you break it, you can reset it with a Resplendent Spark.
Greater affix drops seem to be in a pretty good place right now. Getting a legendary item with 3 greater affixes is very rare and seems to be in a good place of balance. You don't feel like you need to have a 3 greater affix item, but if and when you get one, it's exciting. Oh, one thing I see some people talking about.
Agree.
Apparently, some people feel that the horse in Season 4 is worse than the horse in Season.
I got greater affix bash pants for you. Login, whirlwind spin to win. We need spin to win.
Thanks, man. Let's go. Thanks for the support. Yeah, I'll message you in a bit. Give you what is it? 100 million gold.
3.
A billion, actually.
The suspicion is that the horse was reverted to a previous season state before it went through those improvements. And I'm not sure that I've noticed any difference myself.
Dude, I'm so happy that we can go on the horse, guys. And actually, this was in the beta, guys. I could go on my horse in the beta and just do this. We can spur in town. This has been one of the best changes ever, dude. Like, I don't know why they ever got rid of it. Like, this was in the game from when I first played it. This was in the game. And then for some reason, they removed it, man. We were just having too much fun. But they brought it back now, man. So, big W.
What about you folks? Has the horse gone back to being bad? Now, this week we had a small patch. We covered the patch notes last week. But one big thing they did was lower the gold cost of masterworking. Oh, and another PSA. If you salvage a masterworked item, you'll get refunded a portion of the masterworking materials.
That's cool, that's cool.
And this does not happen if you sell the item or if you just reset the masterwork. Similarly, don't sell gear that has gems in it. You'll lose the gem, and gems are really valuable this season.
Hell
You're
yeah.
still looking for your perfect rubies, right? So you either want to remove the gem before selling the item, or you just salvage the item and you're going to get the gem back.
Makes sense.
One last PSA. If you're leveling an alt, check the alchemist between levels 20 and 50, because he's going to sell caches that contain legendary items. They're pricey when it comes to gold, but hey, this is an alt, so...
Yeah, I never noticed this because I never checked the alchemist at these levels. But this is a pretty cool trick. It just costs a lot of gold.
You should be able to part with 200,000 gold. Now, some crazy stuff is
But
happening.
yeah, guys, that was the video here from Riker. So definitely recommend watching this. Pretty cool information. And there's a lot more here about Helldivers and other topics here. But I mainly wanted to focus on the tempering and on the bricking. And again, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Should the bricking remain or should it be changed? And if yes, what should it cost to reset, you know, the tempering chances on an item? I hope you enjoyed the video, my friends, and I will see you soon. GG. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.